Hello and welcome to Short Story Scene. I'm your host, the storyteller, and here we have a tale called From Clarel, the Hostel by Herman Melville. In a chamber low and scored by time, masonry old, late washed with lime, much like the tomb new cut in stone, elbow on knee and brow sustained, all motionless and sidelong hand, a student sits and broads alone, the small deep casement sheds a ray, which tells that in the holy town it is passing of the day. The Virgil of empathy, and beside him in the narrow cell his luggage lies unpacked. Thereon the dust lies on him as well, the dust of travel, but anon in the face he lifts, in feature fine, yet pale, and all but feminine, but for the eye and the serious brow, then raises paces to and fro, and pauses say, other cheer than the anticipated here. By me, the learner, now I find, theology art thou so blind. What means this naturalistic kneel in the lowest Silo's oracle, which here should murmur, snatched from grace, and waylaid in the holy place? Now thus was this but yesterday, of Jaffa on the clear blue sea, nor thus my heart it was with thee, landing amid the shouts and spray, nor this with a mount full equipped. Up through the vaulted gate we slipped, beyond the walls were gardens bright, with bloom and blossom cheered in sight. The plain we crossed in afternoon, how like our early autumn bland, so soft tempered from a boon and breath of Sharon's prairie land. And was it, yes, her tilted rose, the scarlet poppy oft at hand, then remily gleamed in the sail white town. At even there I watched day close, from the fair tower in the suburb one, see reward dazing set the sun. Inland I turned me toward the wall of Ephraim, stretched in purple pall, romance of mountains, but in the end the change the neared approach could lend, and start with the morning gun and lance against the quarter moon's low tide. The thieves' huts where we hushed the ride, chill daybreak in the lorn advance, and stony strait in scorch of noon, thrown off the crags, reminding one of those hot Paynims whose fierce hands flung showers of Afric's fiery sands. In face of the Crusader king, loose the wither sow his wing, and at the last aloft for goal, like the ice bastions round the pole, thy blank towers, Jerusalem. Again he drops with a brow on hand, but standing up, why well I know Salem to be no Samarcand. 'Twas scarce surprise, and yet first view brings the eclipse, needs be my soul, purged by the desert's subtle air, from bookish vapors now is air. To nature's influx of control comes likewise now to consciousness of the true import of that press of inklings which in travel late through the Latin lands did vex my state, and somehow seemed clandestine, and under forthings of the mind, banked corals and descent from far, but little heed men they wind, unseen, unheard, that till lo the reef, the breaker, wreck and grief, and there unlearning how to me opes and expands the time vast sea. Yes, I am young, but Asia's old, the books not all have told. And for the rest, the facile chat of overweenings, what was that? The grave one said in Jaffa Lane, whom there I met my countryman, but new returned from travel here, some word of mine provoked this strain. His meanings now begins to clear, let me go over it again. Our new world's worldly wit so shrewd lacks this Semitic reverent mood unworldly hardly may confer fitness for a just interpreter of pastings, forego the state and local minds inverterate. Tied to one poor and casual form, to avoid the deep, saves not from the storm. Those things he said and added more, no clear and authenticated lore, I deem, but now need now confess, mu cultivate erroneous. Though scarce indeed the sort he meant, 'tis the uproot of content. He said the student, 'twas a mind earnest by nature, long confined, apart like vista in a grove, collegiate in the light of the rove, the vast abroad among mankind, and here in end confronted so, by the true genius, friend or foe, the actual visage of the place, before but dreamed in a glow of fancy spiritual grace. Further his meditations aim, reverting to his different frame, bygone, and then can faith remove her light, because of late no plea I've lifted her source above. Dropping thereat upon the knee, his lips he parted, but the word against the utterance demurred and failed him. With the infirm intent, and sought the house top, set of sun, his feet upon the yet warm stone, he, Clarel, by copying lent, in silent gaze the mountain town, and walled the battlement one, with houseless suburbs front and rear, the flanks built up from steps severe, saddles and turrets in ascent, tower that rides the elephant. Hence large in view, there where he stood, was Acra's upper neighborhood. Encircling hills he saw, with one excelling, ample in its crown, making the uplifted city low, by contrast oblet in the flow, and the eventide was at the full brim, overlooked, and the houses sloped from him, terraced by the doomed unchained gray, all stone, a moor of roofs. No play of life, no smoke went up, no sound except low hum, and that half drone. The inn abutted on the pool named Hixiges in sunken court, where silence and seclusion rule. Hemmed around by the walls of nature's sort, base to stone, the structures seeming one, even with the steeps they stand upon, as the 3 decks stern lights peer down on the oily wake below. Upon the sleek dark waters here, the in-small lattices bestow a rearward glance, and here and there, in the falls a languid evening air stirs the dull weeds of dust, which trail in festoons from the crag and vale, the ancient fissure overtopped by the tall cover of the copse. Built like a lighthouse over the main, blind arches showed the walls of wane. Sealed windows, portals masoned fast, the terraces were nothing past, by parapets all dumb, no tarn among the Catskills. High above the farmhouse and stack, last lichened barn, and the long bridge rotting in remove, for lonesome looks in this dead pool, and town their living creature rule. Now here the spell might he undo, the strangest haunted him and grew. But twilight closes, he descends, and toward the inner court he wends. And that concludes our tale from Clarel, the Hostel by Herman Melville.